Hello again, everyone. This is Chris here. That's Robert Hardy. And this is the Citizen Sports Weekly, where we discuss the hot topics or the not so hot topics in the world of sports, whether they be local, regional, national, or spanning the globe, international. Anyways, we'll get right into it. Our first topic is going to be tomorrow's huge Syracuse at Virginia ACC basketball game. Syracuse, they had that two-game losing streak. They came back. They held off Maryland. They almost blew another one there. But it sets up a great showdown. Syracuse has 2 losses in the conference. Virginia has 1. And if Syracuse can win this game on Saturday, we're taping this on Friday afternoon, if they win the game tomorrow, they'll basically have a stranglehold on the ACC regular season title, which would not be too bad for their first season in the conference. So, Robert, what do you think about this game? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's an important game for them at this point, and it really can set the tone for a great March if they can go into Virginia and win this ACC game. Virginia is a very good team. One of the, we were talking about this the other day, one of the real unsung teams in the ACC, because when you think of the ACC, you think of Duke, you think of North Carolina, now you think of Syracuse, and here's Virginia, who has had that's a team. They've had a great year this year. Obviously in conference, only 1 loss. A very good defensive team, and that's really going to be kind of the X factor in all this. Because if Syracuse, who has been struggling offensively all season long, for the most part anyway, if they go in and have another subpar offensive performance, I think it's going to be a long day for them in Virginia.
Could you see this game being in the 40s, like a 48-46 game?
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, Virginia's not a particularly great offensive team either, but with Syracuse struggles and their success in the zone, and then you look at a team like Virginia, who's also had great great year on defense, it could very well end up being in the 40s.
Well, I'll tell you, Syracuse, the game against Maryland, I think we saw some flashes that C.J. Fair is coming out of a slump, if you want to call it that. But
a little bit of one, yeah.
He played better. Trevor Cooney, this guy, he got up to such a great start. I think people thought that he was literally the second coming of Jerry McNamara, and he definitely is not, at least right now. Yeah. He's struggling. I mean, if you want to call it a sophomore slump, whatever, fine, but he's not the player he was at the beginning of the season, and I think that's a major reason why Syracuse's offense is kind of been sliding the last 6 weeks or so since ACC conference play started. So, the thing is, obviously, you got to give credit to the opposing defenses because they're trying to stop Syracuse. I think Syracuse would like to run the ball a little bit more with Ennis, and the defenses are just not letting that happen. So, but Syracuse still, though, could be playing better offensively. This is going to be a tough environment. I know Virginia, the fans are really pumped up for this game. From what I'm hearing, this is, I guess they're wearing all white or something. They're going to have a white out at the game.
Yeah.
And, like we said, Virginia's flown under the radar nationally. Not many people have talked about them. It's been more Syracuse and Duke. And I think Virginia sees this game as an opportunity to earn some respect and some national attention if they can beat Syracuse. It's a 4 o'clock game on ESPN, so it's going to be nationally broadcast, which is important. And, but Syracuse, they've played in so many of these games. They're used to the attention. They're used to the hype. They're used to the big crowds. And I don't think that's going to faze them. And again, I think it all really boils down to C.J. Fair. What type of game do we get from C.J. Fair? I think if he goes over 20 points, I think Syracuse walks out of there with a victory. Under 20, I think they're going to lose, obviously. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be intriguing to see how this game plays out because it is going to be such a big defensive battle.
Yeah. I think one of the keys for Syracuse in this one is going to be shifting away from C.J. Fair, but looking at what can Tyler Ennis do. There's been games recently where he hasn't been a very good distributor of the ball. He's taking more shots than he should. And that was. This is something about Ennis that he was, praised for, through the beginning and middle part of the season, that he's unselfish. And, not that he's being selfish now, but he's almost being put in these positions where, he is the only one who can shoot the ball on the floor because the other 4 guys are covered or they aren't in a position to make a play. And so, in going into Virginia, knowing that they have a good, defensive setup there, they've got to find a way to make Ennis, really thrive, find ways that he can get the ball to people and, get people open. And, the problem with Cooney is that, while he's while he's shown flashes of brilliance throughout the year, he's always been inconsistent. And, that's one thing that drives me nuts with him. That's why I think he's, a little bit overrated in terms of, outside shooters. Everyone talks about Cooney, but he lacks the consistency to be considered a serious threat.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he can put up big games where he shoots the lights out, but then he'll go quiet for 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, no.
And that's not what you want or need out of an outside shooter.
Absolutely.
in college
No,
basketball.
streaky is not good, and it's just unfortunately he got up to such a great start. I think people had expectations of him that he just can't meet right now. So who knows what's going to happen next season with him? That hopefully he'll play better. But I'm not going to say he's been disappointing, but it is not great that he's been slumping the last few weeks there. So we'll see what happens. And I think that one thing that fans need to realize, Syracuse fans especially, is that the officials are not out to get Syracuse. There's a lot of online griping about how the ACC officials are, say screwing Syracuse over, for lack of a better term, And look, I'm not a referee. I've never reffed a game, but I've covered enough Syracuse games on the floor where I've seen the refs close up and heard them talk, and these guys don't even want to look at a stat sheet. One time there was a ref, we had stat sheets at halftime, and the ref was walking near us, and I said, "Hey, do you want to look at the stat sheet?" And he's like, "No." He wanted nothing to do with it. These guys, and I'm not going to say every referee is beyond reproach or completely objective or whatever, but the majority of these people, they try to call a clean game. They try to call a game that's balanced, that doesn't favor one team over the other. And I think if you look at the number of times Syracuse has gone to the free throw line, and I don't have the numbers on me right now, I think Syracuse is shooting more free throws than their opponents. And that says to me that Syracuse is getting more calls than their opponents. So let's lay off the griping. I think there's just that internet necessity that we have to complain about something. And in this situation, I think it's overblown and it's really wasted. Syracuse is not getting jobbed by the refs. I think they're being treated fairly, especially in their first season in the ACC. And I think one thing that got mentioned is that Jim Boeheim was not even reprimanded or anything for the comments he made about how Maryland had more rest before that game than Syracuse did. And, I think that the ACC is, I wouldn't say bending over backwards, but they're doing all they can, I think, to give Syracuse the benefit of the doubt in some of these situations. And I think that speaks to the fairness that they've received in their first season in the ACC. Okay, our next topic, and I gotta admit, I've not seen the video from this yet, but I guess there was an ugly brawl after a Western Athletic Conference, the WAC conference, between New Mexico State and Utah Valley. And from what I was hearing about this, a player for New Mexico State threw a ball at a Utah Valley player, hit him in the leg, and of course the fans were on the court, which to me, I don't know why a fan would be on the court after a regular game like this. It's not like they beat the #1 team in the country or anything, but they're on the court, and it just led to a very ugly situation where I don't think anybody was seriously hurt, but it just is not a good thing. And I understand why fans want to go on the court, and I've seen it at Syracuse. I mean, God knows that, when I used to be on press row and Syracuse would win a big game, the fans would come just streaming out of the stands and them out the court. And it's a dangerous situation because you've got a lot of people that are support people, whether they have TV cameras or photographers. Reporters are not on the court anymore at the Carrier Dome. There's more fans and everything, but it's not a good situation. And I can understand if you beat the #1 team in the country or you beat your rival who you haven't beaten in 20 years and you want to go on the court and celebrate, that's fine. But there's situations where someone can get seriously hurt by this, and I just think that this is not, fans should not be going on the court on a regular basis, if at all, really. And, I don't think this is something that the administration at that school was expecting, where they would have done some preventive steps to try to, keep this from happening. So, I think fans belong in the stands. They have a right to cheer or, root against the opponents in a clean way, hopefully. But it's just fortunate nobody got seriously hurt in this incident.
My issue with this storming the court craze, and there's all sorts of talk about the etiquette of this. To me, it shouldn't be allowed. Period. And you look at the recent incident involving Marcus Smart and the fan that was in the stands, and you
Texas
hear about,
Tech there.
the players should never
Right.
go into the stands and everything. Well, if that's the case, then why is it okay, and in the NCAA's mind, that, after a game, fans can storm the court immediately.
Right.
And, that's the problem. The fans are on the court. The players haven't left the playing area yet. And, in order to get through to get off the court, if you're the losing squad, in order to do that, you have to go through this mob of fans. And that's not, you're opening up it's a player safety thing.
It is a player
And,
safety thing.
if they're really concerned about the safety of their student athletes, they'll put the kibosh on it, every conference.
Well,
My biggest issue with it is, you're talking about security, you're talking about safety. Boeheim, when he was ejected,
Right.
a couple weeks ago, he gets a police escort off the
Right.
court because it's in Cameron. And, if we're that concerned about safety and security, and that, you should just get rid of it altogether.
Well, every Division I court is different, and obviously, if you're at a game, say, like at a place like a Cornell or Colgate or Binghamton or Albany or places like that, you don't get you don't get 30,000 fans or not even 1,000 fans. Maybe there's only a couple hundred in there or a few hundred. That you really don't have these security issues or things. But I'll say this though. There's two things I just want to mention real quick. Number one, fan safety is important here because, maybe a fan isn't rushing the court and he gets run over by someone who is trying to rush the court, who sits above them. And that's not good, number one. But I'll tell you this, and I agree with you. If the NCAA really wants to put the kibosh on this, just say if the fans rush the court after the game, the home team forfeits the game. End of story. That's it. I mean, it's pretty draconian.
Or if, there has to be some sort of penalty.
Right.
If it's not a forfeit, then it's got to be, some penalty to the college. And, these colleges aren't poor, folks.
Right. No, there's money.
There's money there.
Yeah.
And, the same standard
A
should apply
fine
to-
maybe might be a better way to do it.
Right.
But again, it's on the students. I mean, like I said, I think the administration does not want their fans storming the court. And like I said, can you put a security guy? How many security guys do you need to prevent this from happening? When you've got a few hundred kids and only 10 security guards, for an example, at maybe a lesser Division I court, is that going to work? Is that going to stop it? I don't think so. So I really think that if this becomes more of a problem, and I don't think it's that bad yet where it's happening on an everyday basis, but if this happens more and more, then I think that the NCAA might need to step in and say, you know something? Your fans go in the court, you'll lose the game, and that'll end it. Because no fan wants to lose the game for their team. So we have one more topic. This is a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lull going on. All right. We're in that time of year where the Olympics are done, the NFL's done. Baseball, spring training games have started, but come on, guys. Do we really care about spring training? Are you really going to make an effort to watch a spring training game? No, you're not. Please don't go there. Okay. NBA, playoffs are still a couple months away. The regular season is, in that middle part there. The NHL is just back after its Olympic break, but the run for the playoffs haven't started there yet. So it's just that lull time. It's just, or LOL? No, lull. 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 It's just there seems to be like a little bit of a dead time in sports. And Robert and I were talking about it because we were trying to come up with some topics to discuss for this video here. And we just decided, let's talk about the lull. And I kind of like it, although the NFL really, to me, doesn't have much of a lull because we had the Combine last weekend, which I refuse to watch. I'm sorry. I'm not watching a bunch of guys jump around in T-shirts and shorts and do their vertical leap and all that other stuff. It's just, if you're spending time to watch that, you need help. You really do need help. Hey, look, I love watching the draft, okay? And my wife will tell you that watching the draft is like watching paint dry. It's boring. But the draft does have some intrigue and strategy, and it's fun, and things are going on there, okay? And if in your team, when they're drafting, you're very interested in what's going on. But the Combine, though, no. Please, just again, don't watch. Just don't say no to the Combine.
To me, the lull every year in sports is around this time. Olympics or no. Usually it's, for me anyway, it's between the Super Bowl and the beginning of March Madness.
Yes, and there's like a 6-week span in there.
Yeah, and it's, it's just because you look at, the NBA and NHL, because of the nature of those sports, you have games, every night, but they're in a period of time where the games really, the playoff picture hasn't been,
Right.
narrowed down to, 3 or 4 teams are battling for 1 or 2 spots, and so it's still pretty wide open, and therefore, less suspense is involved. And, there's, you look at baseball and it's just getting started, they're in spring training, and, that's not so exciting. The games really don't matter at this point. So it really, for me, is, a time to kind of kick back and get caught up on some other
Yeah,
TV
we're
shows.
watching. I know. I don't think it's a coincidence. I've knocked out season 2 of House of Cards. No spoilers. I knocked off the first season of The Americans, which I didn't watch last year, which I'm kicking myself now. Now I'm caught up on that one because the second season just started this past Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm caught up with my TV binging here, and I got to figure out something else to watch now. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of that time where we spend time with our families. No, we always spend time with our families.
If you
okay?
like that kind of thing.
I love that kind of thing. I love my daughters and my wife, and I love spending time with them. And so, it is like I said, there is more free time, and to do other things around the house and stuff, and so that's the lull. So I guess we should wrap it up. I don't know how much more we can say about the lull.
Without putting...
I know, let's not lull our viewers to sleep here.
Yeah.
So, well, anyways, folks, we appreciate you tuning in, or logging on, or whatever. And hopefully we'll have some more interesting topics next week. I'm sure we'll have another Syracuse basketball topic. They're the hottest thing around here. People are going nuts for them. And we'll hopefully see you next week. Take care. Thank you.